my name is Marissa Lavinia Mann. I'm a speech therapist at Cleveland Clinic Children's Hospital for Rehabilitation Therapy Services, and I have 8 years of experience. Today we're going to talk about augmentative and alternative communication. So what is AAC, or augmentative and alternative communication? This means all of the ways that someone communicates besides talking. So AAC types include no tech, low tech, and high tech. When we break down the acronym AAC, augmentative is a word that means it is something that is adding to speech, and alternative means that it's replacing speech when needed. Going more in depth in those no-tech systems, these are things that do not require any additional materials to use. So this is what we commonly use. Gestures when we're talking, I use my hands often. Facial expressions, body language, and sign language. This could be some minor sign language too, like we use some baby sign language here, like more and all done, or more extensive ASL. Some low-tech systems are simple paper or object-based systems, or they're things that are battery-operated. These include things like photographs, picture exchange communication systems, which we call PECs, core word boards, Big Mac buttons, etc. So some pictures of those you can see up in that top left. There's our PEC system where an individual can pull off an icon and hand it to someone to indicate what they're wanting to communicate. You may have seen some of these core boards before popping up. Seeing them in a lot of playgrounds lately where a child can go up and point to the things that they want to communicate regarding play on the playground. Maybe I want to swing, I want to slide. And miniature versions also exist or could be made and tailored to what the individual's needs are. That could be some more general vocabulary like go, stop, more, all done, yes, no. It could also be highly tailored and specific. So maybe if someone really enjoys playing with bubbles, it could just be all bubble vocabulary. So the word bubbles and pop, this is fun, those types of things. Additionally, there's something called a Big Mac. So this is just a large button that you turn on and audio record. Could be a very simple hello, and you're walking door to door and saying hello as you're, passing a friend in the classroom or in the hallways. A Go Talk 9 is another example of something that is battery operated. So this is a system that you can, again, tailor make the board that goes into the system and make a voice recording for each individual button so that the individual can push the button and indicate, again, what those things that they want to communicate. High-tech systems are systems that contain robust vocabulary and feature a dynamic screen and voice output. When I say robust, I mean this is something that includes extensive vocabulary, a variety of parts of speech, and it has the ability to modify the grammar. So you can change the words for verb tenses, you can change it to make plurals, all of those things. And a dynamic screen is something that can change based on what the user selects previously. So or like a layered navigation. So for example, if I were to click a button that says eat, it would open up a new page with all food-based vocabulary. It also, dynamic means that the device reads the messages aloud when it is selected. The two types of high-tech systems that you'll typically see are dedicated devices and non-dedicated devices. Dedicated devices are rugged, they're single purpose speech generating tools, often covered by insurance. And when we say single purpose, it is for communication only. So different features that could be using Wi-Fi, being the ability to download other apps, those are all disabled with a dedicated device that is only for that communication purpose. A non-dedicated device are your typical consumer tablets like an iPad, a Fire tablet run by Android, and those just run those AAC apps. You purchase that separately, add it on, and then you have all your other apps plus your AAC on it. Some of these high-tech systems look like these pictures here. We've got a user all the way on the right who is using a finger point with a key guard to help make their selections. You have another type of system at the bottom called from Tobii Dynavox, and then you have one here on the left, which is showing an eye gaze user. So on the right, you see someone who's using a finger point. That is one access method. If we have someone who does not have the motor abilities in their hands to do so, then we could use something like eye gaze, or even something that's called switch scanning, where that switch button is connected to the device and the user can tap that button and make a selection that way. I also want to bring up that communication is a toolbox. So you can use any combination of verbal language, no tech, low tech, or high tech to get your message across. So a really great example that I like to bring up a lot is a patient that I saw who was using high tech AAC. But the quickest way to tell me a topic that he wanted to discuss, which was the fact that my dad was a firefighter, and he loved to talk about it and look at pictures. So he pointed to me with a gesture. He used the sign for father, and then he used his AAC device to say fire truck, which was telling me he wants to hear about my dad being a firefighter, which was a great way to use this total communication approach. He used multiple different modes, and I was able to understand what he was trying to tell me. Some considerations when you're creating your communication toolbox, so all those different pieces and parts, is you want to think about cultural differences. So I bring up Jewish during Shabbat, where you are not able to use technology during that time frame, something that is battery operated or electronic. So we can maybe go back to those no tech or low tech options where it is just a picture printout, core board, or those different little picture options. We use our gestures and all of those. We also want to look at the environment that you are using your communication method in. So I may primarily be someone who uses a high-tech communication device, but if I'm going to the pool or if I'm going to take a bath, I am not bringing that into the water with me. So I might want to make a core board and laminate it and have that so that I could take it. And if it gets splashed, it's totally fine. Also thinking about on the move, what is going to be the quickest thing to use when we are maybe going to a birthday party? Maybe that is our full speech device. Maybe that is a core board that just has birthday party vocabulary on it. Another consideration is looking at motor skills. So like we talked about the previous few slides, if we are not able to use a finger point, or even sometimes we'll see kids use their thumbs to access the device, even if we can't do that, we can use an eye gaze device. We can use different methods to access that. And your speech therapist and occupational therapist will be your best bet at helping you figure out what access method works best for your child. Also looking at learning skills. Maybe we want to start small, something with pictures, and then we move towards something more high tech. So there is no set rule or way of going about AAC. It is very much looking at the user and seeing what works best for them, and using a combination of all of these things and all these different methods so that we can get our messages understood. So who are some typical people that you see that use AAC? These are children and adults that have communication challenges. So some example diagnoses or conditions, see a lot of autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, apraxia of speech, which is a speech disorder where it is difficult for the individual to make the motor movements needed for speech production. Maybe traumatic brain injury or some genetic syndromes. When we're looking at adults, we see a lot of people with ALS, Parkinson's, those types of diagnoses. Ultimately, AAC is for anyone whose speech does not fully meet their communication needs. Here's some myths and facts. A big one that we see is that AAC will stop my child from talking. And the research has shown that AAC often supports speech and language development. Think about it as you're getting that verbal output, you're getting that auditory output from the device, and you're also getting a visual cue. So a lot of times this is extremely helpful for individuals who need some extra support in order to communicate. You're getting a multi-sensory experience using AAC to help. And it does, and again, that research has shown that it does help with that speech and language development. Some other myths is that AAC is only for non-speaking people. Like what I brought up previously with the apraxia of speech, those kids can communicate words. It's just very hard to understand. So that would be a good case of pulling in AAC for those users. AAC should be a last resort. We want to start communication access early so that we are not further frustrating our children, our children who are speaking. We want to give them access to something so that if they are not speaking just yet, they do have a mode to relieve those frustrations. Another myth is children are too young for AAC. Again, we start off early and we relieve that frustration. And AAC is only about requesting. The AAC devices, it's very dependent on what device you use, but a lot of those more robust, like we talked about, robust versions of the AAC devices have jokes embedded in there. They have different greetings and departures. Hello, goodbye, see you later. So it's not just limited to that. We can make comments with our AAC devices like, wow, that was cool. I liked that. And our big message here is that communication access should start early and all modes of communication are valid. Again, we're total multimodal. We want to use a device, maybe a core board, printout, gesturing. We are not just focused on one type. We are using and utilizing all types of communication if that's what works best for the user. Some benefits of AAC. It reduces frustration. It increases independence, supports language development, builds social connection. It improves participation at home and school, and it gives children a reliable way to express, again, wants, needs, feelings, ideas, humor. These are all very, very important. When you think communication is such an important part of everyone's lives. If you think about how often you are talking to somebody, you're communicating with people throughout the day, it is pretty much your entire day. So we want to provide some method for our patients and our children to be able to communicate as well. Some ways that AAC is taught, we have some modeling techniques. One modeling technique is called aided language simulation. This is a communication strategy where a speaking partner points to symbols or words on the AAC system while speaking with no expectation for the user to repeat the action or immediately respond. We're not running around chasing speaking children all day saying, repeat after me, repeat after me. Children are learning that language naturally. So we want to just provide those models and not put so much pressure on the child. So I'll pull out my AAC device here. Let's see. So it's not super blurry. There we go. All right. Maybe I want to say, I want to play bubbles. Play bubbles. Let's play bubbles. I'm feeling hungry. I want to eat. What should we eat? I would like to eat pretzels. Pretzels. So I'm giving that verbal model, I'm giving that model on the device. And it's just providing a lot of opportunities for your child to learn. Another big key factor in teaching AAC is repetition and consistency. We want to keep this device out for our children to use communication happens so fast. So when that opportunity happens, we want to be so quick to say, "Oh yes, you said it. Here, let's model it on the device here." And we want to be consistent about that and keep that out. We also want to create communication opportunities for our kids. So, maybe we're picking an activity to do together and create that opportunity of, like in this picture, playing with cars. I'm bringing out my cars. Maybe I'm holding a car in my hand and I'm saying, "Oh, do you want the car?" And I model on the device, "Want car," and handing it over. Or we're saying we have a ramp and we're saying, "Ready, set," hitting go on the device and allowing, the car to go down. So we're helping create those opportunities for modeling as well. A big piece is also following a child's interests. So a child is not going to be susceptible to learning if you're pushing things that they're not interested in. If the interest is really high, you're going to see a lot more of that buy-in from the child, because that is a way for them to communicate things that they really want to talk about. We also want to look at collaborating between the parents, the teachers, if you have a school-age child, the speech language pathologist. Sometimes you have your outpatient speech therapist and you have a speech therapist also in the school. We want everyone to be on board. And other therapists on the team. I brought up occupational therapy earlier. It is super helpful if you have a child that has motor access needs to have that OT come in and look and see what we can do to help increase access or that use of the device, whether again it's using hands, using eyes, using a switch, or maybe we get more access if we're sitting up straight or adjusting our wheelchair in a certain way. So that's where physical therapy might be on board as well. All right. So what can you guys do at home? We want to keep that AAC available all day, like I said earlier, modeling without pressure to communicate, responding to all communication attempts. So if we see that there was, something was accessed on the device, even if that was a misactivation and they didn't mean it, you would just give that verbal model of, "Oh, you said cookie, but you were reaching for the goldfish. Let me hit goldfish." Um, Use that AAC during everyday routines. Very simple to add and include. You've got meal times, play, when you're reading, when you're out going shopping, especially with these bigger systems that have a lot of vocabulary, you'll be able to find a lot of these vocabulary pieces and parts when you're out and about on the device. We also want to celebrate communication, not perfection. So if we have someone who is just starting to get interested in the device and maybe saying a word here or there, we're going to get excited for them. We want to celebrate any and all attempts. It does not have to be perfect, especially at the start. Some practical examples I wanted to add for families to use at home that are typically on a main screen of a device. More, go, stop, help, and all done. And again, I do want to repeat that, we do use the multimodal. So maybe we have that AAC with us everywhere, but in the bathroom especially, we have that laminated core board that is on a piece of paper because, again, we don't want it to get wet. Or we have something that indicates, we may mention those Big Mac buttons. Maybe we need a way to alert our parents that we woke up so we can hit the button and say, "Help me," or "I'm awake." But using our different modes in different areas so that we have access at all places. Some challenges and encouragement that I do want to talk about before we wrap up. AAC learning takes time. It's like learning another language. Children need to learn those motor patterns in order to quickly point and find those words that they're looking for on a device. And that leads into that device navigation, which can feel overwhelming at first when you're learning where all of those vocabulary words are. Progress does look different for every child. Um, just like in anything else, sometimes we start off slow and then it picks up, and sometimes it picks up with those early core words and then it may drop off for a little bit as we're learning some new things on the device. But the main point is that consistency matters more than perfection. So keep trying, keep bringing that device out, or your other, whatever mode that you're using, keep presenting it and using it and modeling it for your child. And just know that everybody deserves a voice, whether that voice is coming from a speech device or coming from something that's more low tech, or your words are coming from pointing at a picture icon. Everyone deserves to be heard and to have their voice. So thank you very much. Here are some references, and have a wonderful day.